Hello, everyone. It's January the 20th of 2026. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. I am Nick, joined as ever by Quinn. And things are a little bit different this time, Quinn. What's going on?
Yes, we are embarking on this podcast from the brave, unventured grounds of a Tuesday night. Longtime listeners will know that we've normally been recording this podcast on a Wednesday for probably close to like a decade now. It's been pretty consistently that date. Unfortunately, I have a class this week or this semester that only has a singular time at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. So I was like, well, that's probably not going to work. So we'll be doing it on Tuesdays for the upcoming future. But this class that actually I have to take during our usual recording time is it's one of my education courses. So
okay.
The first class is essentially just kind of showing us, going over the syllabus, any of those sorts of things. If you've ever taken like a college level class here, usually the first day is just kind of going over things. And we were going over one of the programs we'll be using to do graded projects on, basically a service that has videos that you can kind of put timestamps in that ask you questions at, intervals throughout the video to make sure you're actually like paying attention. So, our instructor is trying to show us how to do one of these. She doesn't want to show us one of the ones that we're going to be doing for the course. So she's just trying to find an example one to do. And she goes and finds one that is a third grade math problem. And it's a relatively simple
this can only end in disaster.
It's a relatively simple question. I'm going to be slightly paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact specifics, but it's like Mr. Lee has two 2-liter pitchers of lemonade that are full of lemonade. And then he has one empty 6-liter pitcher of lemonade. When he pours his lemonade into the 6-liter pitcher, will there be any lemonade left afterwards? And she just asked this question in class. She's like, everyone just throw out your answers. We're just doing this as a little example. And Nick, I'm not kidding you, with every single person who said something was wrong. Everyone was like, there's going to be a bunch left over. Yeah, it depends how you divide it. I was like, I'm not here to teach math, but even I'm still able to be like, this is 2 + 2 is less than 6, right? Like,
I'm telling you, the main reason most people don't like math is that they actually don't understand how to put stuff in terms of a math equation. Like, that's all it comes down to. Because when you break that down to the numbers, anyone would be like, oh, 2 + 2 is less than 6. But they don't understand applying the concepts. And that is, I think, a major thing that kind of like gets... No, I don't know if there's like a standardized way to get people to make that connection, honestly.
They're just confused. They're like, oh, it's like exchange rates. Like I'm converting to orange juice or lemonade, and that's going to change how much that 2 lemonades is worth more than 2 waters, of course, obviously.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Oh my god, it's like all those videos of like the kids who have to reach a certain developmental stage to understand that if you pour like a water into a taller glass, there's not more water. Like.
Yeah. I learned about that last semester.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
All right, Nick. Well,
yeah,
normally...
Of course, that's developmental psychology. Yeah.
Normally, I would chit-chat and banter here. I'd go about it all night if we could. But unfortunately, we have a recommendation to do and also conservatively like 17 manga to talk about. So we're going to have to jump into this by getting into our most recent recommendation for the podcast.
Right, which is Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable, which is also called Dosanko Gyaru wa Namaramenkai, or Namaramenkoi. I have messed up that goddamn word every time I've practiced this. And it is a series that ran in Jump Plus from September 2019 through September 2024, so just finished up about a year and a half ago. It's available on Manga Plus, but you have to have like a deluxe subscription for
Yes.
it. And this is a romantic comedy school life series that is set, as you might suspect, in Hokkaido, the northernmost region of Japan, kind of like the Canada of Japan, if you meet a really, really short term phrasing of it.
And I
Uh,
guess you're American. You have to be American to get that specific
right.
context. Because you could be in France and be like, "What is Canada to me?"
Ah, the people who are closer to being right. Good. So the series follows an exchange student named Tsubasa Shiki. He moves from the Tokyo area to Hokkaido to attend high school. Is really getting used to the fact that, because he moves there in like winter when he's moved to the coldest region of the country, is entirely unused to it until he randomly meets a classmate of his named Minami Fuyuki, who is a gyaru. She is a very fashionable girl who lives in the Hokkaido region. There's a big deal about how she like always, wears very fashionable clothes with like short skirts and stuff, even when it's like blistering winter. And the series is about their relationship as they get to know each other. There's a lot of little tidbits here and there about, life in Hokkaido. Very much reads like a tourist brochure at the beginning of each chapter. And the background plot is the two of them getting to know each other, getting closer, and their romance eventually developing.
Mhm. Now, I don't want to bury the lead. This is a romantic comedy. Um, there's the kind of will they, won't they? But it's worth noting these two start dating in chapter one, as far as I'm concerned. Like the first interaction they go on together, they're sharing food and going on sleds together. I was like, there's no pretense. There is no awkwardness. These two have already had like several years into the relationship, and they're deeply comfortable with each other.
It's very strange, honestly, because Fuyuki gets past any sense of awkwardness with Shiki like right away.
Yeah.
To the extent that she is so comfortable around him that that in the very, very, very early chapters, he thinks like, is this girl just like easy, basically? And then he's very quickly like, okay, no, no, she's not. She's just incredibly friendly and trusting, and that's just it. But yeah, they have a close relationship right away, even if it takes them 100 goddamn chapters to actually hook up and officially start dating out of a 120 chapter long series.
Yes, it takes quite a while, and I will say that there is a lot of awkward teenage stuff. I thought going into the first chapter, I was like, okay, well, Tsubasa is gonna come away looking like the real weirdo because at one point she like hands him a blanket and he like imagines her like naked body draped over himself as like he puts the blanket around himself like, oh, it's wrapped in her warmth. And I was like, all right, dude, chill out. But then he hands the blanket to her after class, and in front of him she just takes a big sniff of the blanket, and I was like, no, they're both weird, they're meant for each other, you're both little freaks, enjoy your time together, I guess.
There is a very odd dynamic they have early on wherein Fuyuki is like obsessed with teasing Shiki. Like she just loves like getting him flustered by like, grabbing his arm or something and kind of like, making sure that her cleavage is like just visible enough. She'll get shy if she gets more exposed than she wants to because, that's kind of natural. But it very much seems like she is flirting with him, and then it takes like 30 chapters for her to realize that she actually likes him. It's an odd like thing, and I think that the series in general, with a lot of characters, struggles to relate the emotions that they're actually experiencing, particularly when it comes to romance, which is, like a major thing in this romantic comedy series. There are multiple different, potential relationships that happen, and I can tell you why one person likes another in this whole thing. I can tell you why Sayuri likes Shiki, and I don't know why anyone likes anyone else. I just, I just, And I don't think that it ever really clicked for me. And I read this whole thing, and like you get into Sayuri's head, and it's very much made clear because she like has this outward appearance of being very together, very elegant, and very proper. She's also a gyaru, but she's a different type of gyaru than Fuyuki is, which is never really like explored very much. She's fashionable, but she's a different type of fashionable. Is all that really matters. But she's secretly like a gamer and a shut-in. And Shiki, by just being very friendly and very understanding with her and being willing to like try those things with her, makes her like kind of come out of her shell around him, because she's like, oh, this is like the only person that I've ever wanted to actually like share this side of myself with. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I understand then why she likes him and what her motivation is, which by default makes her the best character in this series. I'm not saying she's a good character, but she's the only one who has a character that I understand.
It's a little frustrating because I liked Sayuri off the rip. I really liked her introduction story and the way that they kind of showed this new character. They do, kind of a very common trope where they introduce the lead character who like openly states who his type is, and then the first person he comes across is like the opposite of that type. But then the second person he runs into is exactly his type. So like on appearances, she is supposed to be his like destined girl. But at this point, he's already come to know Minami, and there's, more complicated things going on there. Sayuri, of course, though, then starts to realize her own feelings, starts to make a push forward, has like a big climactic thing where she like makes a move to essentially show that she's interested in Tsubasa, and then proceeds to just like repeatedly drop the ball and act like an idiot the rest of the like there's a moment where something big and dramatic happens and Minami's like, we should go after him, and Sayuri, go with me, and she like kind of looks as like, no,
nah, I gotta give him space right now.
She says something like, I have to wait for his answers. Like, yeah, I know, we're going to him, we could just get the answer right now. This
is unrelated to that. You can still be a supportive friend without having to worry about your romantic. This series really does not feel like it's alive at points. There is a third love interest that gets introduced, Natsukawa. Her thing is that she's like, she's the senpai character. She's a year older than the others, and she's kind of this like ideal, kind of person. Like everyone looks up to her. She's, the top student in her class. Shiki, who's already really smart and good at studying, gets tutored by her. And she does have like a little thing, which is that she is fascinated by like traditional Japanese clothing and stuff. That's her kind of quirk. Doesn't come up too much, but she does have at least something.
It came up a lot in the initial introduction to show why she would have any interest in Tsubasa off the rip, but it is something that kind of fades a little bit more into the background as time goes on.
So there reaches a point about halfway through the series where it becomes basically, all right, is Shiki going to end up with this girl? And it starts off with Natsukawa, and he decides he doesn't want to be with her. And it gets to Sayuri, he decides he doesn't want to be with her. And then it gets to Fuyuki, and eventually they hook up. And during the time that we are focusing on each of those potential relationships, there are no other characters in the story. They are gone. Like it doesn't feel like these are people who are attending school and interacting with classmates and stuff. They are on a visual novel side quest where you have to follow all the way through and follow all the prompts. Yeah. And then once you're off that track, things go back to normal, and you do all your dailies and stuff after that. And that really stood out to me when I realized that it was happening 3 times in a row.
It is rather noticeable at points, and there's also just like small moments where your like characters will be like, yeah, I think they're mad at me, I haven't spoken to them all day at school, and I'm like, you sit next to each other, how would
you're in the same class?
How would you not have any interaction? But I try to like pull it back. I'm like, everyone in here is like 16 years old, 17 years old, like they're all like kids basically, so like they're doing the dumb weird things. But unfortunately, I just didn't find any of this cast intensely likable that I wanted to like keep reading their stories. I don't think anyone's bad. Like I liked Tsubasa well enough. They created a pretty harmless generic male lead who just kind of does everything right but isn't like obnoxious about it, I guess. And Minami's fine, very bright and fun. I think the art's kind of a hampering point for this series. I think the character designs kind of let a lot of these characters down, and Minami is probably the most notable of them.
I liked the art style very early on in the story. There's a kind of like soft cuteness to Minami to Fuyuki, and that style seems to fade over time. And her design, I don't think, works as well with the style that we get. So, it was kind of annoying to eventually see that because, and that's a complaint I've seen other people make, is that things seem to just kind of like devolve over the course of the story, which makes sense. Like that the very beginning art style is not going to match what it's going to look like over time, because your process for drawing is going to be different when you're producing an ongoing series as opposed to when you're gearing up to debut your ongoing series. But it unfortunately, like, it just doesn't work very well with our main characters. I found the series to be generally inoffensive for the first like 40 or so chapters, which is really kind of like really cements its identity. Then there's a thing that happens that I want to save to talk about because the thing that it really annoyed me. After that thing that really annoyed me happens, then we get like 10 chapters of people just kicking the can down the line to like not confess to each other and not act on their own feelings. There's like 5 conversations that happen in that span that are basically one character confesses to another and they are told, well, I can't answer you yet. I have to go take care of something first. And that keeps happening. And so nothing progresses.
Is this what dating's like in Japan? Because if so, it sounds infuriating. Like, is there that much like, well, hold on, I'll get back to you when I fully know how my feelings are. But like, bitch, you're right here. Say something.
Like, Shiki full on confesses to Fuyuki his feelings when they are in a beautiful like nighttime forest surrounded by fireflies, and there is this incredibly beautiful 2-page spread all full color, and she says, well, I can't answer you that yet. She doesn't like fully reject him, but she's got some things she has to do first. Those 2 things are, she's already been confessed to by another character who we'll never see again after another 5 chapters have passed. He was introduced purely to throw a monkey wrench into this one thing to prevent them from getting together. And also she's friends with Sayuri, who has also confessed to Shiki by this point. She doesn't want to hurt her feelings. And it's like, that's bad excuses. Like, there were better excuses earlier on in the series when she was like, oh, I'm going to have to like go away for a bit. And then it's revealed that whole thing, she's going to be away for 2 weeks. The series is immune to like having actually compelling drama. It can't do it.
This is not a series that has like shocking cliffhanger chapters. The craziest thing is a character goes to the hospital once, basically. It's not going to be a lot of tense story arcs or anything along those lines, which isn't to say it's bad. Like, I kind of enjoy some of its smaller little stories early on, but I do think that the series needed some extra element besides this just takes place in Hokkaido, so it has a lot of Hokkaido imagery and that stuff that feels like it's doing a lot to give this series some kind of identity, and it just needed like another layer beyond that.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem to introduce the plot very much outside the fact that Shiki's not from town, and so he's supposed to only stay in Hokkaido for a year, and in fact, the hospital visit is that his mother is very sick, and so she's in the hospital, and his mother is like very controlling and is like, oh, I've allowed you to have a little bit of freedom to go to Hokkaido, but I'm going to be checking on you and making sure that you're staying serious with your studies and stuff. And when she finds out that he's doing stuff like making friends, like, oh no, she's going to pull him back and bring him back to Tokyo, and he's going to be separated from Fuyuki and everybody else. And we get this very dramatic flashback where Shiki remembers being a kid and how no matter what he did, she was not satisfied with his work. If he did not get top marks in the class, she would be like, what are you doing? You're wasting the opportunities we've given you. You have to try harder. If he did get top marks, she would be like, oh, good. The tutor we hired you did a good job.
Yeah.
She never congratulated him for anything. She would then go on to say, like, oh, that guy's doing good in this extracurricular club. And he'd be like, I got so good at swimming that I beat him. And she still didn't think that I was good.
That was the wildest
so
thing. When he was like, I got so good, I beat that kid at swimming who you said was, who you like made me jealous of. And she's like, bitch, why are you swimming? You should be taking exams.
Why are you doing that? Study more. So like, and we find out over the course of the first part of the story that Shiki's like unfairly multi-talented. You know, he gets like, you know, third place in the class. He plays this beautiful piano arrangement for Fuyuki. He can cook, he can do all this other stuff. And so then Fuyuki goes to actually see Shiki while he's visiting his mom in the hospital, and she talks about how great he is and stuff. She's still about to like pull him out of Hokkaido, and Fuyuki says, "You really love Shiki, don't you? Because you're so worried about him." And she's like stunned by this. And then Shiki says, I fucking kid you not, Mother, it's because of you that I was able to do things in Hokkaido that got me all this praise from my friends, so thank you. And that fixes everything. Because she remembers when Shiki was a little boy, and the very first thing that he ever did, because she's a calligraphist, so the first ever calligraphy he did was her name. Oh, he was a little boy and he'd made this really sloppy thing that was her name, and how sweet it was. She was like, oh, that's so sweet. I'm going to teach you how to do better and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you did the opposite of what you did the entire rest of his life. That was why that was a sweet memory. None of this connects with the things that these two have told you.
That is definitely one of the more egregious notes of this series. A sort of allergic sensibility with drama, as you mentioned before, because you're like, okay, so this woman was like really kind of dangerous to Tsubasa's life. Like, you know, it's kind of why he maybe has been struggling so much, and why Hokkaido means so much for them is this opportunity to kind of start his life over again without this sort of oppressive feeling that his mother gave him. You know, reminds me a little bit of Hachiken from Silver Spoon, who also had like, I have to leave home, and like being kind of vague about it when he speaks about why he's here. And then I guess to avoid, it's weird because it does it in relationships, but I guess just kicking the can down the road of like, how do we get Tsubasa back to Hokkaido at this point? His mom's just kind of forgives him, imagines like one happy scene when they were children, is like, you're right, I should be more like that. And you're right, I will move to Hokkaido with you. It's like, oh, okay, this was kind of a weird way to do this conclusion, but fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with taking the approach of, and now the problem is solved, and so we can go back to like, you know, happy times and stuff, because this does seem like it's much more of a comfort food kind of series is what it's trying to aim for, and that's fine. I'm just saying, if you're trying to do a dramatic beat, make the drama good.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, just don't do this whole thing of like he's traumatized by his own parent, and they need to resolve this troublesome relationship. If you can't resolve it in a satisfying manner. So there were just, I do generally agree with you. I think that this is generally an inoffensive series. Like, it's very plain, I feel. And especially when you get to the point where Fuyuki and Shiki do hook up, because my God, they have the most vanilla, boring relationship ever. For like 15 chapters. They just, there's no drama. Even like, they make it so that even like Natsukawa and Sayuri are both really, really, really supportive of it. It's hammered over the head for you, like how fine everybody is with this. Not a single person related to either of them is anything but happy for them for this happening. And they're just the most perfect couple. There's no trouble
No
whatsoever
issue.
between them. To the point that we get not just a finale where the two of them get married, but where the two of them get married and have a daughter who in the final chapter grows up and gets married. This is the most heteronormative ending for a series I have ever seen. Get married and have kids who get married is such an
Yeah, I admire one level of this series a lot, which does seem to be that it does seem to have a lot of respect for Hokkaido. I don't know how much of what we see is an accurate representation of it. I'm not from the area, so I can't really discern, but it seems to spend a lot of time being like, hey, Hokkaido's really cool. Hey, the people from Hokkaido are like really strong and like really, talented. Like they know this way of life. Like you should really trust them. You should try their food. That you should talk about how these cool traditions they have are still ongoing. Like come out and see it. It seems really beautiful. It's just kind of nice. And I do enjoy that as sort of the backdrop to this series. I just wish the cast was more interesting to maybe make it so I'd want to spend more time reading these chapters. But as it was, it's kind of a series that you read 20 chapters of and you're like, yeah, it wasn't that different from the last 20 chapters I read, except a couple characters that I had to do dumb things to keep the plot going.
One last note that I realized after I finished the series was that so each of the characters has like a very straightforward, like meaningful name. I didn't realize it until they started doing the whole thing where the girls like try to win Shiki and then he rejects them. So Natsukawa, Natsu means summer. Sayuri Akino, Aki means autumn. That's why in summer Natsukawa gets rejected, in autumn Sayuri gets rejected, and then Fuyu means winter, which is why Christmas they get together. Shiki means 4 seasons.
Yeah,
so
I also read Eden Zero.
So their daughter marries a guy called Riku Haruta. Haru means spring, which is why they get married in spring in the final chapter.
So did
Quinn.
Okay.
Was there supposed to be a 4th girl that was in love with Shiki?
I was gonna say, was the girl the 4th? Like, did they have to have the 2nd wedding just because they're like, oh shit, we didn't get a spring character
shit,
in
the
here
theming! Oh no!
Oh my god, I thought there were only 3 seasons. I thought there were just 3 Sawsbucks. I'm an idiot. I forgot about the flower one. Ooh.
Who cares about spring, honestly? Yeah, I did not hate this series, but it did frequently frustrate me, and it was way too long.
Yep, we have, unfortunately, too many series for us, I think, to get too much into the weeds on this one. But I had a fine enough time with it. If you want to check it out, it is available, as Nick mentioned, on Manga Plus. You will need, I believe, the deluxe subscription because it's a finished series. But if you want to read it, 119 chapters, all available on there. Though it's longer than 119 because it's one of those stupid series that does like half chapters.
Of, like, art chapters, yeah.
Stuff. I'm like, fuck off. This isn't, number your shit right.
Yeah. We have Ichi the Witch, 66th Hunt, 5 Seconds of Connection, featuring a very interestingly colored image of Jiki Shirane, with her doing her clasp hands to get prophecy pose, which she does a lot of in this chapter.
I get so mad when I see art pages like this, because then it raises the bar so high that the next color page I'm gonna see, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm gonna have to, like, 3 chapters from now I have to talk about Boruto's color page, and I'm like, this is what you could do. You could have done this.
I thought you were saying it was raising your expectations for Ichi the Witch's art.
No, just art in general. Just the idea that I'm gonna have to see another color page and be like, it's not as good as Ichi the Witch's.
We get an action chapter in this. We get to see Jika Shirane's magic in action, where she calls on like herself magic, Mirasam, and basically calls out instructions to Gokuraku so that he knows where to expect attacks from all the Octobomb clones. And we get a flashback explaining that Gokuraku, in order to charge his ultimate attack, he needs at least 5 seconds. So she promises him, if you hold off the attacks, I'm going to get all the prophecies that I possibly can, and I will get those 5 seconds for you. So just follow my instructions exactly. And she's calling out directions, saying like, oh, 2 o'clock, there's 1 coming, 3 o'clock, there's 2 coming, 7 o'clock, there's a bomb coming. And she keeps on pulling in magics, and like she's starting to like cough up blood and get nosebleeds because she's channeling so many futures at this time. But she looks at the others and she thinks, I've made up my mind, I'm going to protect this woman. And so she just keeps on going. She's going to protect Mini. And she also says, I'm betting on your future, not the world haters, but yours, Ichi Peachy. But then she realizes that there is an opening, and she calls out to Gokuraku, who she's been calling Goku this whole time, that his 5 seconds starts now. And so a couple of the clones are gathered together, and they are making a huge Octobomb together. And so everyone's like, shit, I don't know about this, but Jikashirine just silently begs, come on, just trust me. And as they're about to unleash the Octobomb, suddenly a bubble appears around them and freezes them. Because from all the way over there, the Chrono Weaver magic has used his powers to freeze all the clones. And he says, Minnie is the only one I trust. But if they chose to risk their lives in order to protect ours, then perhaps I could entrust them with a moment of my time. And that gives Gokuraku his opening to... And he kills the hell out of 2 of the clones.
Amazing chapter. Multiple reasons. Everyone gets to look extremely cool. Time Weaver magic stopping the attack from all the way over there. Chef's kiss, truly wonderful. Jigger Shirune doing the I'll hold him off for 5 seconds or give me 5 seconds, essentially. Like a very cool moment. I always think more fights should have that kind of like holding of an opponent off for a certain amount of time is always like a really satisfying thing. And I do appreciate that because Jikashirune is just calling Gokuraku Goku, then Austin is technically correct now when he says, I'm just talking about Goku on these podcasts. I will say, I thought his super special ultimate thing would be more bombastic than just punching really fast. I was like, I saw him shoot a laser beam.
A downgrade from when he had a Buster Cannon come out.
I know he could do cooler things than that. But it is a very satisfying conclusion. And this series rips. I don't know what to tell you. It's so cool and satisfying. It's great every time.
Yeah, that was so much fun. And Quinn, Blue Box, Chapter 226. That was so much fun. Kyo, and Taiki are still doing their badminton match. They are still thinking about their time together, and Kyo is just thinking to himself, I just want this to last a little bit longer. Like these last few years, the days I took for granted, I just thought that they would go on forever. He manages to get a diving save against Taiki, who keeps on just smashing, just repeatedly smashing. And they're both just having so much fun. The people in the audience are like, oh my God, they're like smiling and laughing with each other while they're doing this. Kyo manages to get some trickery down. And as he does so, he thinks to himself, I wanted to be like Taiki. I wanted to be able to like hit powerful smashes. If I had woken up 30 minutes earlier every morning, could I have been able to? But the fact that I didn't means I took the path meant for me. And we get what feels like a symbolism thing, like as if this maybe didn't necessarily actually happen kind of flashback, where literally the two are riding their bikes and Kyo takes one road and Taiki takes the other. And he says, that's more your style, Taiki. You go the one that's straight ahead.
Yeah, and that See You Again song plays from the end of that Fast and the Furious movie.
Furious 8 or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
He does tell a interesting joke, which is, it's okay, I'll teleport over from the other pathway every now and then. What does that mean?
Well, because the other path's just grass, right? Can you just ride straight through the grass and teleport over?
I mean, yeah, but how far apart do these paths diverge? Is there a point to having two paths?
No, it's just the Yu-Gi-Oh card that's the different paths, you know? The different paths meme, Nick?
What?
You had to have seen that meme. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Where one leads to the stormy castle
yeah.
one. And okay.
Yeah. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, isn't it?
It resembles the art of a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I don't know if it actually is. If you can find it, cool,
yeah,
but...
I'm gonna look this up.
So Kyo thinks to himself that, hey, Taiki, took a different path on the road. I do feel sad that this is all ending, though. And he manages to get...
Dramatic crossroads.
Oh.
No, also known as two roads or two paths.
Kyo manages to get his racket on the shuttlecock, but it hits the very top of the net and doesn't go over, which is the game point. Taiki wins. We do see that Kyo was able to take that second set, but he has lost the third, 21-14. And so Taiki wins and moves on, and Kyo doesn't. And all Kyo has to say afterwards is a little laugh, and that was so much fun. Thank you for the past 6 years. And Taiki looks at his friend, and we get a bunch of flashbacks of the time the two of them spent together, and he says, I should be thanking you for being a true friend and always running beside me. Aww. And the judge is like, I need you guys to get off the court.
Hey guys,
you need to go.
Great match. I'm glad you two seem to really have a bond or something else. Whatever. I support all marriages, but get the fuck off the court. Because we have another match coming up. Like, get your fucking butt off the ground. What are you doing? You're sitting into court right now.
People are crying. Ayame is like hiding her face with her score card, which is cute. And Shinatsu spots Taiki. They make eye contact while she's in the bleachers, and she mouths to him, "Did you have fun?" And he's just got this big smile on his face, even though, his time with his friend is over. They managed to have a lot of fun in their final match against each other. Aww. We are just quickly informed that Haruto got into the top 16, and of course, Shuji Yusa, got to go to the qualifiers as well. We have been told beforehand that the top 16 would advance. I don't think they ever said exactly what round Taiki and Kyo were in, but it was described as a win or go home match. So presumably that was to make the top 16.
Yes, I have to imagine so.
Taiki and Kyo go to ride their bikes for a bit, and Hina shows up, and he says, "Hey, aren't you gonna treat me to cake?" And Taiki's like, "Well, I'm treating Kyo for cake," and Kyo's like, "Yeah, but we're also going to need to celebrate Chono because she got to advance too. So, yeah, you're treating both of us. All right, bye."
Now,
and then they ride off to go.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first time Hina has spoken to Taiki since she kissed him?
I think so.
Okay, because I get that this is a scene we saw with all of them riding off together, but there was a part of me that's like, I mean, did you guys have a conversation about this off panel or something? Or are you just going to be like, nothing ever happened. Let's go get some cake, gang.
I know that would be a really bad retcon. I would, however, still be in favor of it if that were just never brought up again.
She's like, by the way, guys, my evil cousin has been around here kissing people.
My evil cousin Xena.
I've been out of the country. I was overseas. I just got back today, so I couldn't have done anything that you've seen me do here for the past couple weeks. I was definitely Wahina. But yeah,
unfortunately an upside down H just looks like an H.
It gets people really confused. They don't talk about that as much. I will say this chapter really showed off to me why I'm glad Blue Box is a romance manga that occasionally dabbles in sports and not a sports manga that dabbles in romance. Because going through this chapter, I was like, damn, Taiki and Kyo have zero chemistry. I, as a sports reader, cannot imagine these two being anything other than like school
They're
teammates.
not good sports rivals, right?
Yeah, they're not really like compelling on that level that you would want those characters to be. So yeah, I'm kind of glad this was like a background thing.
Absolutely. Well, that was a blue box, but you know what else we have? A blue vortex. 2 blue vortex.
Like,
Boruto, 2 blue vortex.
You had to look at this after seeing the one from Ichi the Witch. It's so annoying.
Look, they've got legs. They're like standing there.
Yeah. They
Chapter
sure
30, all them nuisances. Some of the fighting happens. So some of the Mamushis that got squashed by Chocho, they get back up. So Himawari's like, I'll shoot him. And she starts to do a tail beast bomb in her hair. And Shikadai is like, not inside the village, idiot. And so he paralyzes them all with his shadow binding thing. And then Chocho throws them up in the air. And then Himawari blows them up. Boom! Hooray! And Himawari's like, I'm sorry. I just started. And Shikadai's like, sorry's not good enough. We're not always going to be around to support you, and there's no taking back something like that. How long has he had this character? Like, what is this?
like, I get on one level mind to be like, Himawari, you need to learn that your power is really dangerous and get some measure of control. But on the other hand, I'm like, did you even have a plan for how you were going to deal with this? Because, like, you need to kill these dudes by stabbing out their eyes, and last week you just smushed them all. Like, they're all just going to continue to duplicate at that point. So.
Okay. I will try to summarize what happens in this sequence. Because it's really dumb and boring, and then suddenly gets amazing. Really suddenly. Lord Kobu, the guy interrogating Kotohamaru, who has just told Shikamaru to come in for his interrogation, says, we're going to do that. Sai comes in and says, hey, there's divine trees attacking. I see. Let's do the interrogation right now. He is not going to be deterred. He's like, no, we are not going to like, no, we are doing this right now. So more stuff happens as people are communicating that there's a lot of Mamushis. That's all that happens in these several pages. It doesn't matter. Shikamaru learns that Kobu wants him to go for his interrogation. And he's like, I'm kind of busy right now. Kobu gets on the mental talkie line and is like, I represent the Land of Fire's daimyo. I represent the will of the daimyo himself. You should not keep me waiting any longer. We are doing this. He's like, we're being invaded by monsters. No, this takes priority. Not going to be deterred. So a distraction happens because of that. Some random guy with a mustache manages to lasso Boruto and tug him to the ground as he's not paying attention.
I thought this was so fucking funny because it's just some dude, some schmuck who gets like, I was like, oh, what kind of cool design? Because like, not to jump ahead, but in like a couple moments, like Boruto's like, actually, you're pretty, like, I got the better of you, but you're actually still pretty good, so don't die. And I was like, oh, is this gonna have like a cool design? And no, he just kind of looks like a couple of my friends' dads growing up. Like, he just kind of has like a little bit of like slicked back hair and a very tiny mustache. And I was like, okay, who is this?
I better take this guy's sword away from him so he can't use it against it.
Oh no, he's getting away there. All right, I'm just gonna sneak up on him real quick. I'm gonna swing my little rope in the bell at the end of it. There, I got him. See, I told you.
Guys, I got him. Everyone, make a note of that. The great outlaw Boruto who killed our Hokage. Yeah, he's weak to ropes. Yeah.
You just sneak up behind him with the bell. You make sure not to ring the bell. Then you spin it around him. He just goes down like a log.
Are you sure that there should be a bell in the rope to begin with?
Oh yeah, you gotta have a bell on the
How am I gonna?
Otherwise, it's.
How am I gonna find it? You know, I gotta ring the bell to find it.
Somehow the rope rings itself.
It's a ninja rope.
So he grabs Boruto's sword from him, and of course the security measure drains his chakra immediately, and he goes, oh, and collapses, and then Boruto just teleports over to it, picks it up, and is like, don't die, buddy, and leaves.
It's gonna be real hard
While
not to.
stands around doing nothing.
You took all my energy there, Boruto, but I'm gonna try.
Please let this guy come back. I want to know what his entire deal is. Like, why did Boruto single him out as being like, you're actually pretty good? But...
Yeah, why did we need like the 3 pages of someone getting the jump on Boruto with, again, a pretty simple, like, just a rope and a big weight at the end of it?
Shikamaru realizes that he has to go and do Lord Kobu's interrogation. He's going to leave Inojin, like, in charge and take over the command himself. And he's like, I can't fucking do that. Fortunately, it's all right, everybody. Kashin Koji has a cunning plan. And so he summons a toad for Shikamaru to take with him and hide under his jacket. When he goes to meet with Lord Kobu, suddenly the toad channels Inojin's mind transfer jutsu and he takes over Lord Kobu. Remember, Sai is right there. So the Inojin in Lord Kobu looks up and goes, Dad? Immediately gives the game away.
It's so funny because he tries to like pull it together and be like, oh, my darned hair, it's getting so messed up these days or whatever. And you're like, no one in this scene has bought any level of this bullshit. Why are they still keeping it up? Everyone knows everything that's happening in this scene.
So Lord Kobu has been possessed by Inojin now. So he's being like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna take a nap, and just like, I'm gonna go now. And Sai's like, I mean, do you want an escort? And so, no, I'm so tired that that'll exhaust me further. Goodbye. Walks out the door, and he's like, what do I do now? Because Kashin did not explain any of this to either of them. So he takes him up to the roof, and Inojin and Kobu's like, I mean, all right, but isn't this risky? What if something happens to this guy with all the Mamushi running around? And then Kashin goes, no, we're going to kill this guy. We are full on murdering him in cold blood.
It was one of the few moments in Boruto that I was like, ooh, you now have me intrigued. I do like the idea that they were like, this guy's actually an inconvenience. We're just going to mind control him and throw him off a building.
So Sai is like, hey, so he just called me dad. He obviously is under my son's mind control jutsu. What are you making my kid do?
You don't have a kid.
Oh, man.
That's that old Shikamaru magic at hand.
So Kashin tells Inojin, yeah, make this guy jump off the building, make him fall to his death, or just, like, stand here for the Mamushis to come and butcher him. And Inojin's like, I don't know if I want to get involved in this. No, look, we'll discuss this later. Kobu is our enemy and hindrance. We have got to kill this motherfucker right now. Fortunately, Mamushis show up, and so Kashin is like, all right, and he deliberately aggravates one of them so it starts cooling itself to kill Kobu. And that's the end of the chapter. This chapter went from this is stupid to this is stupid, and I am very much in favor of that.
I enjoy it so much because there's so many dumb layers at work here. I don't know why, some random ninja with a mustache had to get the jump on Boruto, and why Boruto had to, like, give him, like, the dap up of respect, like, you're actually pretty good. You survived this war. But, like, we don't even know his name. Why did we spend 3, pages doing that? Why did we, I forgot that this interrogation was even going on right now, so when this chapter is suddenly about this, like, interrogation guy's life, I was like, this is dumb. And then when they're like, we have to kill him, I was like, oh yeah, this is some weird, stupid shit going on. And I'm very on board with it now.
Okay, Chainsaw Man! So we have 2 chapters of this. Chapter 2 or 26, Locusts home. They got to hell. where are all the devils? Yoru starts shooting Denji, blasts him through the wall, and then some locusts come out of a hatch, and the locust devil, presumably, pops out. Denji recovers, goes and sees that Yoru is not doing too hot against this guy. She has shot multiple holes in him. His head is teetering off his body. He can't die because the death devil's been eaten. So Denji is like, haha, this was all part of my plan the whole time. No, it wasn't. And Yoru does something that's actually insanely clever. She looks at Denji and gives control back to Asa, who goes, save me, Denji. And Denji's like, oh, you suck. So he starts fighting the Locust Devil, who rips his arm off. Put that one on there. Chapter 227, The Taste of Shrimp and Blood. This Locust Devil has really done a number on both of them, presumably just like eating parts of their body really quickly, I guess. Denji tries to fight the guy. He gets knocked around through a bunch of buildings until eventually Asa grabs his his dismembered arm and throws it back to Denji. Amusingly, it just heals right back onto the stump as soon as he gets it. And then he uses that to cut apart the Locust Devil and eat it. Just eats its whole ass head and swallows it, which he says tastes like shrimp. And so Asa goes, are you okay, Denji? And then she smiles in relief. And Yoru takes over and shoots him into a building and keeps on shooting him until he's like fallen to the ground. And then just stands over him and is firing at him point blank range to end the second chapter.
Yeah, I really have not been in love with Fujimoto's pacing recently, and I feel like the first chapter of the two was the one where it really annoyed me, because I feel like the moment when it's revealed that Yoru just switched back to Asa should have been like a really big moment, because it is like a very like shitty, crappy, like a kind of underhanded way to get back out of the devil world or out of hell. And instead it just kind of felt like it was thrown into the middle of a chapter, and then we ended on like another kind of anti-climax or like one of those like weird spots. And then,
Yes.
we jump back into this chapter and it's still kind of like that. Like we move very quickly, and by the end of the chapter, we're kind of in the same crappy position with Denji that he was in what it feels like 2 weeks ago or whatever. So yeah, I'm just kind of okay on it. But the fight's starting to drag now.
Yeah, not a very eventful couple of chapters. Yeah, I think that dramatic beat should have been more dramatic.
All right, Nick, we have 2 chapters of Dandadan, starting with chapter 223, the class rep's costume. So Pumpkin Buttman fire off a whole bunch of bugs, but our 2 lead girls, Yukishiro and why am I blanking on her name? Not Mai.
Rin?
Rin. It was another short one, and I keep mixing her up with her fucking microphone friend, who's Mai, and I keep like mixing the 2 of their names up in my head. But Rin and Yukishiro got new bug-themed costumes because their powers have both been enhanced by one another. And Rin is, of course, very self-conscious because she's like, do I seem weird to you? And Yukishiro says, it's fine, you look cool. So
I mean, Rin's costume does look cooler than Yukishiro's does. The giant bug eyes on the head kind of take away from her appearance. I do appreciate that, even though Rin has more of the roach thing going on because that's what they're using right now, Yukishiro is sticking with the fly theme because she's Lord of the Flies. So that's nice.
Yes. They fire off one attack, basically, and it sends Pumpkin Butt Guy flying. Like, he is launched across the mall, lands, and immediately starts getting covered with bugs. And Yukishiro says, how about you eat so many bugs that it smothers your flames? And for a brief moment, it looks like we are about to watch a man be devoured alive by bugs, which I have to imagine... I have to imagine that's the worst. Of all the deaths in the world, I think being eaten alive by bugs is probably near the very, very top. And it seems like he's down for the count, but then I don't know his name, but he looks like he's probably going to be themed around a kappa, and he's got giant arms. He shows up and is like, hey, these two bewitching girls, it's going to be very stimulating to interact with them. I don't like this guy, Nick. I don't like his design. I don't like how he's talking about these people.
Vakappa.
Yeah. Is that his name?
Vakappa.
The kappa? Yeah.
Vakappa. Vakappa.
Vakappa. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I don't like him. They note, hey, it's going to be hard to get closer than they are at this point because of her powers. And Jack Wisp, as we find out Pumpkin Butt's name is, and then Red Baron, which a lot of people are saying is Enra, the smoke yokai who we ran into, or smoke character who showed up a couple chapters ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was him until this chapter because he was, covered up in the cloak and stuff until this point.
Yes. And Enra basically says, like, hey, when fighting, a warrior must always read the terrain. And they notice they're setting things on fire. And Rin kind of realizes too late that wind is now rushing towards them. And before she can do anything, she has completely been grabbed by the smoke yokai, who just completely kind of, grabs her, notes like, hey, like, your gravity can't protect smoke against the wind, which isn't really how that works, but that's fine because it's for fantasy. So they got up there. They got past the gravity. And Vakappa shows up and immediately kind of puts her into like a water bubble. And then they grab Yukishiro and say, if you don't want your friend to die, then you have to admit defeat. And she admits defeat. And we end the chapter with her being cut by the blade. Ooh. Which leads us into chapter 224, which always has really small text at the start.
My power's been stolen.
My power's been stolen. And yeah, they stole her powers, Nick. It's very unfortunate.
They take Lord of the Flies. Yeah.
They take Lord of the Flies. It's now inside one of the little daggers. They basically release Rin at that point and then just reverse the situation. So Yukishiro is the one who's going to be drowned. So, Rin does have a moment where she's like, so wait, what's going to happen to Mai and all this? And they're like, well, your power is going to go to us. That's it. So she knows as she does this, she is giving up Mai, but she does acquiesce, gives up her power. Boop, that's in the knife now too. And they're like, all right, cool. We've collected them all. What should we do with these two? And
let's kill them.
And Ember's just like, do whatever. We got what we came for, so who gives a shit? I don't know what this man does. He takes he turns into water, turns back into himself, and I don't know. I don't want to even describe it. He's a weird man, and I think he's doing some kind of religious thing or something. I don't know. I don't like it.
That's a charitable description, yes.
Yeah. Suddenly a giant toilet shows up, Nick.
Yes.
And everyone's stomach suddenly
oh fuck.
Yeah, everyone starts going like, oh, my belly, oh, I'm not feeling so good. They all have to go to the bathroom. And Enra realizes, no, this means someone's attacking us. Who is making us feel this dire need to go? And they all note how much they cannot possibly shit themselves, how bad that would be, as they go running for a toilet, open the bathroom door, and inside the bathroom is a little girl. Jack Wisp is told to burn her immediately.
No hesitation. Kill that!
He does, shoots off his little fireballs. And the little girl, we end the chapter, smoke clearing, and we can see with, fires still on her, the terrifying visage of a yokai child.
Yeah. Well, as you said, if there were going to be two people in our hero group that were going to get their power stolen, it was these two. It seems as though since we have things, tied to Mai, who is like a character in her own right, that it's probably temporary. So, but we'll see how that goes. And I did not expect that the bailout in this situation would seemingly be like another faction in this, seemingly another threat that could be happening.
It seems to be another one of these yokais, which these groups just don't really have an answer for. Whenever these characters show up, they just kind of fuck things up for a little bit. So I guess this is the Hanako, the toilet demon, basically.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens from here, but I liked it. It was a bummer that those two girls had to lose their power. So I hope they get to do something cool in response and, I don't know, kill this group of weird people. I hope they get crushed by a piano.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if any of them died horribly. Yeah. Spy Family. We have Short Mission 18, only a 3-page long chapter, which is a flashback to Madame Schlag's youth, where she was at the university and she heard about her classmate, Martha. And, you know, there was that whole thing about, like, her regiment was going to go and fight on the front line, which had a big influence on Donna, because she was like, I was always just, like, you know, a very studious, unathletic person. And she's like, I want to be able to fight strong enough so that we don't have to fear Westalis. And so she went and did, like, you know, military training and everything, but it wasn't enough. So instead, she learned about the warriors who served the shogun in the east. Ninja, who were superhuman beings who could shoot lasers and cast fire and lightning and stuff. So basically, she becomes a gigantic otaku.
Yep.
And turns into a ninja girl in college. And everyone's like, you know, why are you got your hand bandaged? That is where I house my lightning dragon. And in narration, we are told, as a result of this embarrassing phase, she acquired a middling amount of strength, which is...
The only reason why Donna Schlag came to save the day really is because she was, you know, emboldened by being a weeb back in the day. So she knows a couple of, like, weeb fighting techniques. And I'm like, heck yeah.
This is a very good 3-page long chapter. It's like, this is a good, quick joke.
Yes, because I was a little worried when we started the chapter, and I was like, I don't know if I'm here for, like, a big, long Mrs. Schlag flashback. Like, I kind of got enough of what we needed from the character. But yes, this quick joke was good, and it's appropriate of a 0.3 or whatever. I don't know why these other major chapters had to be points, but this one makes sense why it's just like, hey, guys, this is like a little extra. You know, if you don't read this one, it's not a big deal.
Hima-Ten, chapter number 74, Hima 74, New Year, New Start. We see Maro for the first time in a while as Himari is playing with him. She had to go away during, like, New Year stuff and take care of business. That's what was happening with all the snowboarding stuff was happening, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, she's there to meet with Tsubone, is that her name? Yes, Tsubone,
Yes.
Who is, you know, like her assistant, you know, / contact or whatever. And she says, yeah, I managed to, like, recharge and sort out my feelings. And Tsubone is like, oh, yeah, well, what's that about? Yeah, you got, like, a lot of dust around your place. So I guess you gotta, like, you know, get your favorite house cleaner in here. And so Himari actually explains things to Tsubone for the first time, like, all series. We cut away to Iamori thinking about his situation, which is that he has realized, like, hey, you know, work and love matters are, like, you know, should be kept separate. And he realizes, like, if I tell Kanai that I love her, I don't think she would be okay if I went over to Yoshino's every week to clean for her. So if I do that, I'd have to stop being Himari's house cleaner, which is going to be really hard because he likes that relationship that they do have. And I don't know if that would have to actually be a necessity, but it is a complication that he is conscious of, at least. He gets to Himari's place. They greet each other with Happy New Year. And Himari is, like, you know, all smiles and stuff. And she's like, you know, I'm going to watch you do your job because, like, I've got some time and I want to, like, make sure that you're, like, doing everything okay because you've had, like, a break in doing this. So he gets really serious. He's not put off by her wanting to watch him because she's like, oh, this way I can, like, ask you for if I'm doing everything okay and if you've got anything you want me to do differently. They have a little thing about, like, you know, what he does differently to clean up now that she's got Maro, because, like, hey, your vacuum cleaner you got like a cheap model. It's not good. It's not a good one for, like, cat hair and stuff. So I use this thing instead. They go over stuff with the light to look for dust and everything. And then Himari is satisfied with his work. Then they have Oyakodon, And it's all tasty and stuff. And Himari tells Iamori, "Hey, you're the best house cleaner that I could have, and I don't now actually need to test you to know that." So Iamori's like, "What are you like for real and stuff?" But as they walk out, Himari says, "Like, I got something to tell you. There's something really important." And so she says, "But first, I want to ask you, do you think of us as really close friends? Because I want to know that for sure before I say anything." And Iamori says, "Yeah, we've spent a lot of time together. Yeah, I think of us as friends." And Himari says, "Look, when it comes to work or romantic relationships, hiring someone or going out with them, each is based on an agreement. And when that agreement ends, the relationship ends. But friends don't need agreements or contracts. So that means we'll always be connected, right?" And Iamori's like, "I mean, you're thinking this, you've got like CEO brain right now, like, but I get what you're saying." And Himari turns to him and says, "Can I stop being your client?" And Iamori's like, "Wait, were you actually like testing me today? Did I fail something?" And she says, no, it's not that." And she says to herself that this is because she wants Iamori to be able to, she wants to be able to tell Iamori that she likes him and can't do that while he's working for her. But she also says, "Yeah, I was sorting out stuff with my coworker Tsubone, and she found out you're a high school student and a guy who comes to my house alone to clean, and it turned into a big deal, so I can't, so I kind of have to let you go."
Turns out an adult actually looked at our arrangement and they have an issue with it. So I'm gonna need to let you
And
go.
there is actually a very sad page because she says, "Could I have my key back?" Oh, so yeah, that's it. Iamori's no longer Himari's house cleaner. Huh?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see this. It's very amusing. This chapter came at the same week as we discussed Hokkaido Girls, because this is another situation of a character being like, "I have something I want to tell you about how I feel about you. It has to wait until another arbitrary thing happens first. So we're gonna put a pin in that. We're just gonna kick this thing down the line a little bit." But I will say that this is a status quo change for the series. This is sort of the original premise is now removed. I don't know how long it took Nisekoi to be like, "All right, enough of the fake love thing. We don't need to do that anymore." But I think it took a little longer than 74 chapters, maybe not. But
wow.
Regardless, I do think there's some intrigue about where this goes from there. But I wonder how we get to. How long are we going to have to wait before she's now just going to be like, "Okay, now, and I like you"? I feel like she's going to be like, "Well, I have to wait a little bit longer. We just stopped, being employee and client and whatnot." And I don't know. I just want this girl to like take a step forward.
Yeah, it feels like there's going to be a whole lot more delays that are going to happen with Himari. I also do wonder if this is a sign that we're like, we've reached the second half kind of thing. If this could be a clue as to how much time we may have left of Hima-Ten. It's been going for a fairly significant kind of period of time for this type of series. It would not surprise me if when this is over, we look at this as being like, oh, this is like almost the exact midpoint.
Yeah.
But it could also be a sign of like, oh, things are like actually going to like start accelerating from here. We'll see.
Now, I don't remember what happened last week. Can we say this was the first chapter of the new year? Because I think I'll more easily remember Iamori having to give his key back than I'm going to remember whatever thing.
Yeah. Chapter 2 of the snowboarding thing.
Yeah. Honoka did.
Odor of the Flame, chapter 34. Quinn, it turns out we're all out of odor. So
oh no.
This is the final chapter. Odor of the Flame, final chapter. Odor of the Flame. Yeah. All the spirits are going to join with Oter and the Ice King the Ice Prince, whatever, in order to stop the King of Evil and all that shit. We get a brief bit of Scotty and Kutane and Erder and Jormungandr saying goodbye to each other as they join with Oter instead. Then he goes up to join with the Ice King, who's got Calario's water power, and then they fight and win. Like, it happens really quickly. There's a bunch of flashy lights, and they go, wow!
I do like
and
the moment.
vaporize the thing.
I do like in the moment when the Ice King's like, do the move you used against Chlorio. Just do the same one, Oder. It's all you need to do.
We don't have time to establish a new technique or anything. It's over. Just use that one again. Yep. So that happens. The ice spirit fades away before the Ice King's eyes. And we get a little bit of Oder's inner world as Filgia's body is fading away. And she explains to him, I'm not dying. I'm only returning to nature. I'll come back again when you need me. And Oder's like, but what if you lose your memories? And Filgia, she kind of reverts to her original, more childlike form. She says, if that happens, just tell me about our saga. Tell me about our battles, the days we spent together, inconsequential things, and all the shenanigans we got up to. I'm sure that'll jog my memory. As surely as when you told me about the fourth leg of your stool being cut off.
He starts
I was so
crying.
disappointed, Quinn, that we didn't see. I was so disappointed, Quinn, that we don't see his stool in this chapter. Like, we get to see a bit of his home, and it's not there.
I got legit. I was like, if they establish in this happy timeline, he's like a carpenter who makes four-legged stools again, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I'll start like hollering and applauding. Like, I'd be like the one idiot that claps when a plane lands. I'm like, this is the greatest day of my life.
So Filgia fades away. And the Winter King looks up and sees the Aurora Borealis and says, how many years has it been since I've seen the stars? And then we get a jump forward to 3 years later for honestly no real reason. Like, there didn't need to be a time skip here. Nothing really happens that needs to have waited 3 years for. Etopirco is now actually the sitting queen now. She passes judgment on the Winter King. I don't know why that took so long. You'd think it would be a lot faster than it took. But she basically is like, we also bear responsibility for this war. So she's like, we're not going to kill him. That's just kind of it. Kutane shows up to speak with Etopirco afterwards. He's been appointed acting minister of the Njord Merchant Fleet. Okay. They say nothing. They just kind of exchange greetings and then we move on from that scene. It's really weird.
Well, it's because
you are the queen. You are the minister of the New Order Fleet. Yep.
Yeah, he's a little bit informal around her, which is a reference to the fact that they were kind of friends before this, and then that's it. They're done talking. There's no more to be had.
Alayoki and Sindra, remember those two? They go to visit Otur and they say hi to Sindra while they're there, and Sindra has some Viking metal knives for Otur, and Otur looks at them as like, you did a good job. Would you like to have dinner? And they're like, yeah, let's have dinner. And Otur prepares some meat for them and is like teaching his sister, Asana, how to do it. And then he puts some, kindling in the hearth and sparks some flint, and he prays for the fire like he did all the way back in the first chapter, and he thinks of Filgia when he does in the firelight so that they can cook. That's it.
Yep.
The end.
It sure was an end for Otur. I don't really want to sit here and I feel like we've been dissecting this series and why it's been kind of going down for quite a few weeks now. So I'll simply say, I guess, in a closure
Since
of Otur,
chapter 10.
a closure to Otur in that I really do like the art for this series, and I think it had some really fun aesthetics and some interesting world building details. I really hope that in Kawaguchi's next work we can get just some like fun, memorable characters. I feel like that's kind of been like the stumbling point in this series and in Red Hood, where you're like, oh, this world's kind of cool and like, the character designs are solid. I don't like anyone in this though, except for what was his name, Billwick, Pennywise or something like that.
Billwick Pennywise.
What was his name? It was the pen guy.
Oh, are you talking about the like depressed older guy or are you talking about which one are you talking about?
There was some guy in Red Hood
There was,
whose name was very silly.
I know there was a guy who had a silly name. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember it anymore. Must not have been that silly, actually, Nick. So,
Oh,
gonna
well.
gonna wrap that up there.
Yeah. Characters. Hang on. Let me see. Hang on.
Gotta know
Find
his
it.
name.
Big Joe Bonkers. Quinn.
Yeah, that's it. You know, there's no Big Joe Bonkers in Odor of the Flame, and that was probably a reason why it didn't last that long, unfortunately.
Oh, there we go. Okay, well, someone out there, someone right now, someone hurts, Quinn. So it's chapter 17 of Someone Hurts. I'd say I'm a corn dog. The lead color page, someone hurts.
Yeah,
and chapter 17.
You know, earlier in the show, I mentioned like all of the color pages kind of look like shit in comparison to Ichi the Witches, but this is really good too. Different kind of style, but liked it quite a lot.
Very, very cutesy. Yeah. Yeah, so we get Mizuho and Mime kind of walking around in the very early morning as they are awaiting the results of the listener quotient. And Mizuho is really, really, really hungry. They go out to a bench, and instead of sitting on the bench because it's all wet, Mizuho kind of like walks around over to the swings, and she sits down in one of them. And they start listening to the show as they're waiting for the results, songs playing and stuff. And Mizuho thanks Mime for coming by and for giving, calming her down when she was like, all worried and stuff and wasn't able to submit results. And there's a very, very, very funny moment because she's like, it would have been even better if you come a little earlier. 4 stars. Like she's giving a review of his dramatic save of her. Mime brings up to Mizuho, hey, like, why do you do this? Like, why do you submit answers to Monbit's prompts? And we don't get her answer because the show comes back on. God damn it. Before we get to the actual results, there is a brief segment with one of the hosts has, which is just like, I just wanted to like share my personally liked entries from this season. And the point of it is that one of them comes from Al in the Woods. But Quinn, there are 2 prompts that we get read off in this recap. Did you have responses for them?
Oh, no, I didn't. These are old ones. I didn't think we were doing the old ones.
I wrote ones for them real quick. So the first one is, what would an extreme cooking show be like? Anytime you open a bottle of cooking wine, you have to pour half of it down your throat, and then you have to hit yourself in the face with a kendo stick.
That's a very extreme match.
Next, what kind of cafe would be at the South Pole? Get away from it! It's not a hot dog, it's some kind of thing! I don't know if that was in Antarctica or not. I can't remember where
it's somewhere cold, right? It's somewhere where it snows.
So there we go. So Mime is very pleased by that he got stuff read off. And then there's even like a silly little moment where he's like, "Oh, I guess that means that Mr. Koyama's favorite and stuff." And on the radio it says, "That's not true at all, dude," as if he's being replied to. Kind of silly.
Yeah, it's amusing.
The results are read off. 3rd place, Hateful Eight. 2nd place, Eel Potato. Winner, Battle Chimney. Happens very quickly. Very little dramatic pause.
They also
so
take this moment to show us what Hateful Eight must look like. Because we cut to some random person when they revealed that Hateful Eight is revealed. It's just some dude who's like, oh, why?
Damn it! So Mime is immediately put in the awkward position of like, oh, damn. Like, I don't know how Mizuho is going to like react to this. Like, what should I say? And Mizuho, fortunately, immediately goes, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. She looks at her phone and she says, like, oh, I got a line from Shrimp Sushi. I'll thank her in person for that later. And Mime's like, what did she say? And Mizuo's like, oh, she's probably congratulating me. And it's this long thing that's like, I may have lost this time, but next time I'll beat you and stuff. This whole rivalry speech. But there is tucked in there like a little thing that Mizuo does make note of, which is that she says, I would have liked that you to be number one in this. Mizuo says, I'd say that being second place is like being corn dog as far as food by the side of the register goes. And Mime's like, I don't really understand your ranking, but okay. But she's like, yeah, it's a big accomplishment, you know, but Song starts to play on the radio show. Mizuo says to Mime, hey, start like, push me on the swing. Push me on the swing. So they set the radio down, and as she starts swinging, the radio kind of gets knocked over, and Mime goes to like pick it up, and when he does that, he walks around in front of Mizuo, and that's when he realizes that she's crying, and the reason why she asked him to push her was so that he wouldn't see that. Mime realized, like, I mean, yeah, of course, like, I'm an idiot. Like, of course Mizuo was frustrated that like she didn't win. But he also realizes, like, I can't really relate to her because like I never even got into the preliminaries for this. But one day he spies the swing next to her. I want to be side by side with her. And he sits down in that swing and thinks, I want to be able to understand the way that she feels right now. And then he's like, I got some tissues for you. And life goes on. Yeah, they go to school. They end up going to get corn dogs together. Mizuo, damn, she
inhales her.
Rock.
Like, you ever seen those people who like push a little bit of the meat up on a bone, then eat the whole thing? Like, that's what she does with this horn dog. She just grabs it, and just pulls it out, I guess.
This corn dog, which looks to be about one half the size of her entire ass head.
Yeah.
Yeah. More time goes by. They go to school another day after that, and Mizuo says, "Hey, May, are you the type to eat or be eaten by breakfast?" So weird. But she notes to him that the listener points reset this week, which means it's a new season, basically. They're starting over from zero, and she's like, "I'm gonna win." And and she's got a little silver medal thing for making the semifinals among her charms on her pack. So that's nice. And that's it. So the first section of Someone Hurts is done. This definitely, you can tell, like, there was an off-ramp here for the series, and we are steaming past it, baby. So look ahead to more silly jokes.
Yes, a lot of Someone Hurts in our future, and I'm excited for it. This was a fun chapter. I like the very cute moments of them on the swing set. There are a couple of jokes I even like. I like when he's like, I'll give you, here are some tissues. It's just like, I'll wash these and give these back. He's like, absolutely not. Please don't. It's fun. Cute stuff. And the series works. Even though Someone Hurts.
Very good stuff. Well, yeah, in this chapter it's Mizuo. Yeah, because you're upset. So
right now it's currently me because my cat is
Chapter
occasionally
76.
deciding to just dig his claws into me for support. It's truly horrific. Oh, but he's so cute while he does it.
Don't touch me that way, but be my body for warmth. It's so cold.
He's a little goofus.
Chapter 76. Toji Shuten versus Helzagaga of Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi. Shuten's getting real serious now. Gaga's like, I want that ability. So Shuten unleashes his ultimate evil second form, Rakisuto, which basically seems to be this like invisible bullet of like black fire of some kind. And Shuten keeps on unleashing his ultimate evil abilities. Gaga is able to shake them off by just buffing up and hitting Shuten with a big ass hammer, but it seems to do nothing. Just makes Shuten get more and more fire. Shuten, I think, rips off his ponytail and turns it into a club. That's what seems to happen.
It does seem like he does something along those lines, yes. Yeah.
And Shuten basically is like going berserk. He's starting to like get these insane looks on his face as he's going after Gaga, bashing him through buildings and stuff, overpowering him. As Gaga realizes that his power has skyrocketed, the power of the Maki, the most wicked beasts in the demon realm. And Shuten notes that I'm just getting warmed up. So Gaga's like, but the Maki never take orders from anyone. Why would you side with humans? And Shuten says, don't be stupid. My boss is Goro Shishido and no one else. So not loyalty to humanity, loyalty to his captain, and that's it. Gaga's like, whatever, I'm going to kill him too. I'm going to copy all the techniques and I'm going to kill you. And he's like, and now I'm going to use that ability you just used because I can copy it. And so he tries to use Rakisuto and it just goes, he can't use it. And Shuten's like, that's okay. I'll keep on going until you get it down. And he shoots him like 12 times in a row and is blowing apart his body with it. Gaga is still up. And Shuten realizes like, this guy gets stronger every time he comes back from the brink of death. So I have to kill him before he can become a real problem. And so he puts everything he's got into his ultimate attack. He uses the first form of ultimate evil, gets right up to Gaga, goes to flick him in the head, and unleashes Akamaru, which blows up in Gaga's face, leaves him a smoldering husk. And Shuten's like, okay. All right, that took a lot. I'm going to go now. Starts to walk off. Gaga starts to rear up off the ground like Exorcist style, and bits of souls from all the dead demons from the fighting that's been going on start to be absorbed into him, and he starts to regenerate. Shuten tries to fire some more of his energy to finish Gaga off, but he comes back. He's got like a horned form that's all tall and slender, like we've seen his brother and his father take on. And he's like, it's thanks to you that I'm even stronger, Shuten. And he points his fingers at Shuten, and he does successfully use Rakisuto this time. And he's like, thanks for teaching me. And that's where we end the chapter.
Yeah, I do think that it's kind of funny. Shuten gets to look cool and then immediately look like kind of he's going to get trounced. I don't know who they're going to have come in here. I guess maybe what's his name will show up here, Sosuke, because I assume he's going to do something. But I'm not sure. But we shall see. It does not look like Shuten is going to be soloing this guy. So if you were buying big and shooting stocks after last week, you may want to see if you can get those sold off.
It does not seem as though he's gotta win this, considering that we saw him like counting down and he used first form. So
he also noted
unless he's got a zeroth form.
He could. This could be Aran-Carr rules, where 0 is actually the strongest. But he also notes
whoever
like,
said they are numbered from 1 to 10.
They notes like 3 different times though. He's like, this guy's really dangerous. Gotta kill him quick. And I'm like, well, if you're on your like second time of saying it, you maybe have already kind of fucked up.
All right, we got a couple of chapters of Marriagetoxin to go over. Begin the first one, chapter 152, with Tonoko saying to Kinosaki that Arashiyama and Ushio are crucial to turning Gero into a wolf, and that's why she has allowed them to be here. And Kinosaki is pointing out, like, you're kind of like being overconfident, aren't you? Like, aren't you worried that Gero is going to like fall in love with one of them? And Tonoko just says, he will not be swayed by those girls. It could be my keen nose as a beast user, but I can distinctly pick up who it is that pines for whom. That's definitely not going to come into play later. Nope. Then she's like, she turns to Kinosaki and says, what kind of woman would Hikaru Gero lust for? Spare no detail. All right, I understand why we're cutting away from this now. Toshiro reunites with Byakuya when she comes to, recognizes him, asks, please, I'm not worthy. Please cast me aside. Toshiro goes full tsundere on her, is like, I'm only keeping you around because I can use you. And she rears up and hugs onto him, much like Professor Penis is doing right now. Emotional reunion. Toshiro almost returns the embrace, and then he realizes that Kimie and Ushio are just full on just like watching all this happen, and then he's like, yeah, shut up, get away. But he does admit that he kind of owes them some thanks. Kimie goes over to Gero after that. He's speaking with PK about something. And she notices that the mouse boss has gone missing after starting to explain that the mouse boss was who led them there. And Gero says, oh, thank you, but he clearly seems distracted by something. He says to Ushio that he's trusting her to get everyone out, and then just moves on and says, you guys go ahead, I'll see you. And Ushio and Kimie are like, what's going on? And they start to try and follow him, but then PK steps in their path, and the mouse boss is with him. And he turns to Kimie, who gets a good look at him for the first time, and realizes, is that you, big bro? We keep following Gero for a bit after that, and he thinks to himself that because of his indecision over marriage, bloodlust found a way into the cracks in his heart, but now, because of Ushio and Kimie, he has the strength to face the truth. The root of all this mess is me. They reached out to save me, throwing away all regard for their own safety, not just Arashiyama and Ushio, but also Himekawa, Urashino, Akakura, Himi. They would have all done the same. And I'm sure that more than a piece of human garbage like me, there's someone out there far more deserving of being with these kind-hearted people. And we get this like imagined sequence of like, you know, all 6 of the girls with someone else that they're like going on dates with, and it's abeyance for all of them. The title vacancy blank face figure, which kind of makes it seem like Gero is imagining the same guy just being in the harem situation instead of him. But Gero thinks to himself, I should have just known this from the beginning. I've lived my entire life drenched in thick blood. The only one who can walk that life with me is that woman, Tonoko Dogo. Hi, Professor. You have any thoughts on this? They're talking about beast users and stuff. Don't bite her. Don't bite her. What's wrong?
He got so mad that I was trying
Professor Peanuts is upset.
He got so mad I was trying to lift up my arm because he's like, oh, your arm is my pillow now. What are you doing? And he voiced his displeasure by biting me. He's okay. Yeah, so we have a second chapter, I believe, of... or is that...
Yes. No, we have chapter 153.
Yeah.
Which is that we see the conversation between Gero and PK where he says, like, hey, let me see Nanako. And PK's like, and Gero's like, yeah, you're the warden of the sanctuary. And he explains that, yeah, there's no prisoner oversight all throughout this facility, but there are no breaches to it. And I know why that is. It's because you are the mouse user and you use your mice to be the surveillance network. And from that, he also knows that he is Arashiyama's brother. And he points out, like, yeah, so when I tried to make my escape, you made it all the way out onto the deck with me. And that was when he started to suspect it. And then after that, like, you know, he dodged his attack when he was going berserk and everything. So he's like, you know the situation. You know that, like, only your sister will only meet those that you endorse. That's the arrangement, isn't it? And so PK, quote unquote, lets down the mouse boss and says, follow this one. And then Gero asks one more request, and he says, don't worry about that. Kimie's happiness is my own. Of course I'll stop her. And Gero's like, it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who slipped past the doll user and brought me here to the sanctuary. And PK says, I was just following Nanako's orders. So now in the present, he confronts Kimie and Ushio, and Kimie's like, it's you, right? You're my older brother, Kimihiko, right? Why are you doing this? And Kimihiko just explains, the guy lurking around Gero, the doll user, is insanely dangerous. And he says that he had the mouse boss bring her here to find Gero because it would keep her out of Nasu's path and out of danger. He notes that he has been protecting her from afar, and we even see a little flash of mice destroying a drone that was apparently tailing after her. So he's been looking after her from afar for some time. But he says, like, yeah, it's not going to be easy for him to get here and lay a hand on you. But this is only a stopgap. Hikaru Gero has taken it upon himself to find a definitive end to the crisis, wait here until the dust settles. And of course, Kimie is like, no, of course I'm worried about Gero, but also, why did you leave? Why did you just leave me behind? And she is, of course, in tears over this. And Kimihiko did not expect this part of it. So he freezes up in shock for a second. Ushio tries to seize the advantage and go like, we got to go and help. So let's just go past this guy. And it's going to be a fight because Kimihiko summons up a wave of mice that turn into like a giant snake head, and they bash Ushio away. And Kimihiko says, I would have been happy to just watch over you forever. You are the one person I never wanted to show this power to. He's got a lot of mice with him. We see a little bit of Toshiro trying to flee with Byako. Byako warns him that Tokuro has been continuing his research on Hyako, and he realized like something bad has happened. He's like, what did they do to you? And then there is a crack in the wall that he is running beside, so someone's after him. Go over to Gero again, and he thinks about how he vowed that he was going to find a partner to spend the rest of his life with, but now he realizes it's just got to be someone who is also one of the top 5 families. So Tonako's got to be it. If I marry her, my grandma, and Nasu, they should be satisfied with that. They should leave Himekawa and the others alone, and they'll be safe. He goes through the big iron doors to meet with her, and Tonako is there, and she's got a fucking crown on, so, she's doing fine. And she's got a collar that's got teeth in it. So, okay, she's ready to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, it almost looks like it's alive, and she's like, yeah, put this on. This is my fun wedding tradition. Something old, something new, something borrowed, and something to choose you.
Hey. Kinosaki is not visible, at least from Gero's perspective, to begin with. So no reunion between the two of them just yet. Yes. But that's where we leave off.
Yeah, it looks like we'll be in for some kind of wrapping into the big climax of this arc. But it should be exciting. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. All right, we have some Sexorcist to talk about, Nick. But this isn't just any kind of Sexorcist. This is some new
Sexorcist. This is the new school. This is the new Sexorcist. You gotta keep with the times.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Chapter 129, Reina Machida, who just confessed to Gakuro that she liked him back when they were kids, and he embarrassed herself trying to save her from drowning, even though she was not drowning. And Machida points out to him, like, you've got like a lot of girls like around you right now. And she just asks him flat out, are you going out with any of them? No. Is there anybody that you like? Panic! A direct question about love, my one weakness!
I've never thought of a girl asking me a question before. I don't know how to react.
So Machida says, oh, wow. Okay, well, you can just give me your answer later. And Gakuro's like, my answer? And Machida's like, yeah, I asked you to go out with me, so I'm going to need you to answer that. And Gakuro, what a guy, freezes up and is just quiet, has nothing to say to that. And she's just like, okay, I got to go. Give me your answer on the last day of the trip. And Gakuro's like, okay. So she leaves. He stares up into the sky for a bit until Natsuki shows up. Natsuki has a shrunken down form of Gekka who can just change her size.
Yeah, she's just
She
like
can change her size.
She's just like an adorable Pokemon now.
She looks like a baby troll, basically.
Yeah.
And there is big dramatic words in this one tiny panel that say, as you see, she can be any size she likes. Like, all right. So Natsuki is like, yeah, so I saw that whole confession thing happen. And Gakura, and she's like, what are you going to tell her? And Gakura says, well, I haven't gotten my head around it yet, but I'll think it through carefully on my own, and I swear I'll find an answer. And Natsuki's like, no, that's not good. Well, but that's the best way to handle it. And Natsuki's like, yeah, for most people. Not you, though. Why not? And Natsuki explains, well, Machida's like really generally uncomfortable discussing her own feelings. So telling you that she likes you must have taken a lot of courage. And Gakura's like, yes! Which is why I have a responsibility to see this through because she trusted me with those feelings. And Natsuki's like, no. What'd you just say? Responsibility? You're going to soar off on that manly attitude again, and you'll wind up crash landing in Stupid Town. Best line in the series so far.
Saying some dumb shit like, I'm gonna make all of them happy. And like in his mind right now, that was his response. He's like, I'll make all of those girls satisfied.
And Natsuki has to explain how love works to this boy. Natsuki, whose experience with love is reading shoujo manga. And she has a better idea of it than this boy. She says, look, no one on the planet would be happy to be quote-unquote cherished because the man feels responsible. If you respect their feelings so much, you're ignoring your own feelings. And Gakura's like, but their feelings are important. And Natsuki's like, yes, but don't you think that the feelings that you have, that you're neglecting, would be the most important thing to the girls? Who are thinking, does Gakuro like me? Does he think I'm cute? What if that's what they want from you? Oh, but there's no way to be sure. Yes, there is!
Talk to them! Any of these girls!
So she says, just like as an example, like, let's say that, can you say you like Machida? Can you say you like anyone from the bottom of your heart? If you don't know that, you can't give her an answer. And Gakura says, but they're all great, and I trust them. I know that. And Natsuki's like, that's not the point. Do you romantically want to be with them? I don't know. How could I be sure? And Natsuki walks off all cool saying, that is what you should be thinking about. I don't know why Natsuki's the... Is it Natsuki or is it Nue? They have the same hair.
No, that's not.
I can't remember.
It's Natsuki. Because I believe Natsuki's eyes are different than Nue's. And I think those are Natsuki's.
No, he calls her princess, so it is Natsuki. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't believe she's the one to give this speech because it seems like one of her founding characteristics was naivete about love, but she's completely correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's also supposed to be his, like, promised partner. But we're never going to deal with that again. So, like, all of this is just nonsense. Like, whoever needs to be the important wise girl next week can be.
I cannot believe that one of Gakuro's 7 love interests, who has it bad for him for no reason, is also the one to tell him, no, you idiot, this is what we want from you. Oh, God. So she walks off. Then we have to go through plot stuff again. Soranaki's hatched this whole ass thing where there's going to be another competition arc thing where they have to get parts of a ticket from facilities around the island, and then once they do that, they can go into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory or some shit.
No,
and he says,
it's Battle
you'll get the
City.
very best hospitality if you go there.
You just need the 5 cards, and then it reveals where Kaiba's blimp is, Nick.
Jesus. So Gakuro's like, all right, so I have to do this in order to reach Soranaki. Don't you try and get away from the point. Don't you try and forget about the thing that you were just told to figure out. Fuck you, Gakuro. So Nue says, all right, you guys have to work together, so let's put together the ultimate scene to pass this trial. And Gakuro's like, okay. And then he gets a thought, and he asks if he can personally choose his team members. I don't know why he can't just team up with everyone. Because they don't say how big the teams have to be. He could just form a team with all of his girlfriends. Whatever.
I don't know why
Zeno...
you're bothering to like follow the rules of this. Next week they're gonna be fucking running like a meter relay dash, but like everybody has to like take off half their clothes or some stupid shit. It's all gonna be dumb. It's gonna be dumb, weird stuff.
Gakuro is there with Zeno for some reason, just for Zeno to say, you've got something to do, right? So go get it done. What are you even doing here?
I thought for a moment that it was going to... There was a brief moment of idiocy that I had where I was like, oh, this makes sense. Gakuro's going to go talk to his boys. Like, he's got all of these girl problems going on. He's going to go talk to his, like, guys, and they're going to be his team. And then it's like, no, immediately it's like, go form your team with somebody else. Like, okay.
We've established that all of Gakuro's male classmates are jealous douchebags anyway. They just like throw rocks at him for having this kind of problem. So some dudes try and hit on Machida, and then Gakuro shows up after she rejects them. And she's like, "Are you waiting for your friends? I thought you might, be like waiting to see somebody." And Machida's like, "No, I don't." And Gakuro's like, "Well, I figured the only way to get to know you was spend time with you, so do you want to come see the resort with me?" And Machi's like, "Oh, okay." And then she tries to play it cool. She's like, it's kind of hard to like, talk this way, so like, why don't you loosen up a little around me? And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Call me by my first name. Call me Reina." And he's like, "Reina!" And she's like, "Okay." And then she turns around, she's all embarrassed about it, and she turns to him all blushing, and she's in her bikini and stuff. And Gakuro goes, "Oh!" He doesn't get a full power up, but he gets a surge of black energy. So yeah, okay, yep. And then Gakuro says to her, "Hey, by the way, why'd you tell me you liked me?" This guy's order of doing things is so weird. She says that it's because she saw all the other girls in the group telling him how they felt, and she's like, "I didn't want to be the only one in our group who was pretending I didn't feel that way." It's a pretty straightforward explanation, honestly. It's honestly like, it makes sense. Like, yeah, I didn't want to be like 2 of 8 girls in this group who haven't confessed to you, even though I do like you. Like, why am I holding off? Sure. And then she nearly trips and falls, so he catches her and gets like a full double handful of her boobs, because that's the only place he could have possibly caught her. She's like 5'2". There's no other space on her body he could have grabbed. Her arms behind her, it would have been the first thing he would have come to. No, gotta get the boobs.
If a girl falls face forward, Nick, just naturally your hands are going to move to that direction. That's just science. Think about it.
He comes up from behind her, so her waist is like gonna be encountered before the boobs. Her arms are behind her. He could have caught them. But the only way he could make sure that she wouldn't fall would be to grab the boobs.
This is her safety that he's considering. This is the safest way to catch a falling woman. So we appreciate him for that. And this is an incredibly romantic and iconic position to be in. Like, this is a scene that's going to be quoted with the same kind of reverence as like the upside down Spider-Man kiss is, just one of those things that like fan fiction, they're going to be writing about this for decades to come.
I wish Gakuro were nearly drowning in this scene. Okay. That's it. That's the stupid ass chapter. Let's do Akane-banashi.
Yeah.
New section. Look, I will say before we move on, this chapter was intensely stupid. I loved it. It was awful.
Yeah, this is the new Exorcist I crave. It's usually very dumb.
Akane-banashi story 190. What is death? Color page of Akane, looking very fangy in this image, honestly. Akane and Rokuro go to recite their own versions of God of Death for like their first time performing in front of Shomei. And there is a silly moment between the two of them because Shomei asks which one wants to go first. Rokuro looks over at Akane, and she's just going, I want to go first, I want to go first, I want to go first, please, I want to do God of Death, please. And Rokuro's like, yeah, Akane can go first. So, yeah. But Akane asks for permission to perform God of Death her own way. And so she starts to go into it, and we don't get to see the lion's share of what her version does, which makes sense. We're probably not going to get that until she does like the completed version of this story. Mm-hmm. But as she goes into it, she thinks about how even if this didn't have any connection to Shikama's art, she would have wanted to learn God of Death because she wanted to follow Shigama's example personally. We get a flashback of a conversation that she had with her European friend, talking about how, like, yeah, during like the Black Plague, there were all these people who died. And so because of that, there were these works surrounding death that were created, these bits of art like Memento Mori and Danse Macabre. And philosophy and art were all influenced by death around that time. The image of death as a skeleton was born at this time. And all religions have different gods, but all share this: the god of death, the personification of death itself. And Akane thinks that she has been examining that in her mind, trying to answer the question, what is death to me? And she remembers stepping into the room when Shigama had collapsed, when she found him before the flashback. Except in this version of the flashback, there is a figure that is visible through the doorway at the back of the room, which presumably is the representation of death for her. And to her, death arrives without warning. It confronts you without mercy. It's irrational. And we get the scene in the story of the man trying to save his own life by keeping the candle lit. And there's this very dark and foreboding cave that surrounds Akane as she's telling the story. And she's so desperately trying to stay alive. Shomei is...
I was say, is this a lot of the same cave imagery used in the Shigama version of the story as well, right?
It's much more similar to that, certainly, than the version that Shomei had. And Shomei is like, she's got the tension of the moment before death down. She deeply grasps that concept enough to deepen the tension of the moment and make it her own. And he's actually like struck by this. Like, I didn't realize she had this much mastery of Shigama special, the god of death, of darkness. And so Shomei concludes, like, she must be thinking that if freedom is the key to the story, she should go with the art that her master has taught her, and she's not wrong to think that. However, and after Akane finishes her performance, he says aloud, I can't declare the story finished at the level that you're at. And Akane asks if it's because she departed so much from the previous Shomei's God of Death, which is the version that Shomei did. And Shomei says, as your instructor in this case, I won't deny it. However, what you have demonstrated is not the mindset of the god of death. It is the mindset of one who suffers death, of those who feel its grasp. Therefore, one does not sense the image of the god of death itself. And we get a shot of like the image of the god of death appearing in the story, but its image is very faded and indistinct.
Mm-hmm.
Shomei points out that the god of death is the nucleus of the story. And he's like, if I can't grasp that, I can't declare your story finished. And Akane is clearly disappointed, but they move on so that he can see Rokuro's version. Akane goes home, thinks about it, and tries to think of, like, what is death to me? What's the personification? And she's, like, at a complete loss. We get some, like, cartoonish thoughts, and she's like, what am I doing? I'm making this so hard for myself. And she thinks about how powerful Shigima's god of death was, but also notes like it wasn't just scary. There was something that was also kind of silly and cute about it too. And then there's the light and sunshine that was the previous master's version. And so she realizes, okay, if the god of death was just scary and nothing else, then he would have learned the dark god of death from the start. The reason he didn't do that is because he sensed the true nature within the previous Master Shomei's art. So she's like, I got to find out about that from Shomei, my Master Shomei. So she goes to a restaurant to meet with him. Broker was also there. And Shomei's like, it's really late. You just like showed up without thinking, didn't you? But they're both there, and Shomei is like, because Rokuro is like, I feel kind of like left out that you didn't invite me. He starts to like leave, and Shomei says, "Forgive me. Given the era that we live in, I was hesitant to invite a younger person to a social event." He's so weird and awkward, so proper.
Mm-hmm.
And so Shomei says, "Look, my family is Rakugo. We're a Rakugo clan. And the previous Shomei was my father, the 8th Shomei Tsubakiya, the Rakugoka known as the Stain of Tsubakiya." So we're going to get to learn some of Shomei's backstory in relation to his father, it seems.
Yes, gonna find out some interesting details, hopefully, about him. Very excited for that. I'm very excited to see what version Akane's God of Death kind of crystallizes into. And I'm excited to see, because I know we're going to have another, dramatically, she's not going to get it until the third one. So I kind of want to see what improvements she makes for the second attempt that isn't enough to kind of get her over that hump still.
It's a fun thing to be like, excited about, like, oh, what are their gods of death going to look like as like the big visual that we'll get as we see the two performances from Rokuro and Akane.
What do you think your personification of death would look like, Nick?
Oh man. So I actually spent a lot of time thinking about that after I read this chapter. I don't think that anyone would be too shocked to learn, given like the t-shirts that I wear, and some of the things that some of the stuff that I've done online, that I am kind of obsessed with the concept of Grim Reapers. It's not even just like, the fact that I was into Bleach when I was young. Even before that, I was really, really into it. And what I kind of came away from the thought after this chapter of like, what would my God of Death look like? Because that was a question I literally asked myself, was, to me, the God of Death represents a mindset that I want to have by the time that I die. Which basically is death. If it is like a thing that is conscious, it's something that every time that it meets someone, it is to say goodbye to them, because they're passing on, which is a perpetually lonely and sad existence. Any being that could do that and could be okay with that kind of existence would have to have a level of comfort in themselves and acceptance that I feel like you need to have to prepare for your own death. And so that's kind of the thought that I have in my mind. It's like kind of this incredibly troubled but sage and content thing.
Yeah, I like that.
What about you? Do you have any of that kind of thought?
Yeah, I think mine would be like a clown with a gun.
Your time's up. Waka waka.
Honk, honk, kaboom, boom, boom. I'm like, no. And then the clown's like, 28B, I'm at the wrong apartment. He's like,
thanks, Quinn.
All right. Let's talk, Nick, about One Piece chapter 1171, Ragnir. So, we are still in the flashback for the Elbath, Loki, all that sort of stuff. We open on Gabon, who was talking about how he had a vision that day of Harold venturing forth from the castle and laying waste to the world until it was nothing but ruins. And it's hard to imagine, considering he watched him get stabbed and brought back over and over again, that there was actually a means to stop him, as we kind of, see shots of the various different pieces of destruction throughout the castle. And, he asked, does the treasure of Elbath really have such power, Chief Ja Rule? And he's like, not that I had heard, but it chills my spine to think what would have happened had Loki not been here. Shanks takes a moment to get a little self-conscious because he thinks all about, how important Elbath was to Harold. And then he thinks back to his father, who was like, oh, gosh, it's so wonderful you're here. Anything you want shall be brought to you. Don't think about the miserable peons of the lower world anymore. And he starts clutching his arm in, pain. And Gabon just comes by and is like, hey, it's your bad habit again. Don't you dare regret your birth, basically. And, we get Shanks being like, no, why did Harold have to die? He was too pure-hearted. If only I'd... Gabon's like, it's not your fault. You know it. You still have a role to play, Shanks. I guarantee it. We look over, and we see that Loki is crying over his father's grave. We don't see the body, presumably because it's too gruesome to look at. What's left is
he got covered with his cloak after
yes.
Loki bashed his fucking skull in, presumably.
Yeah, presumably it was pretty violent what happened to him, as Loki just cries it's a cruel joke. We cut over to a very significant scene as Imu is basically like, so this incredibly powerful ancient giant warrior with an immortal body was suddenly my puppet, and now he's dead? What the fuck's going on in Elbath?
Everyone's like, should we do something about this? And he's like, do you understand the opportunity that fucking is gone now? God damn it.
This is fucking crazy. He notes how, Harold chose to debase himself for all of this. And, he wanted to connect his country and it made him a heretic and all these sorts of things. And he's like an ancient giant king of Elbath who agrees to the covenant is a gift to Mu, the likes of which shall not be seen again. He was a king that Elbath should never have had. And see what came of it. History does not lie. Our kinds are incompatible. Never forget that Elbath is D.
That's so interesting. The idea that, it makes sense though. All the will of D and everything is this thing that is clearly a threat to the order and the world emperor and stuff. Yeah, it seems like it's some sort of forbidden heresy thing to the extent that it's just called D as opposed to whatever D would stand for.
Yes.
Which could mean a lot of things. I feel like we're going to eventually actually find out that D stands for something at this point.
Yes. So we cut back over to Elbath. Loki is basically saying, hey, don't speak a word about what happened here to anybody. And Ja Rule, notably expresses, if we do that, then they'll just blame you for it. And Loki's like, yeah, but that's not any different than usual. I'll just take the powers I have and go avenge my dad. And that's when they're like, okay, now you're going crazy. And Nick, in a moment I didn't know it was coming, we leave the flashback. We're done with it. We're back in current day One Piece. As Loki, having finally finished the story, basically Hariden and the rest of the Giants have to go through the sort of emotional turmoil of being like, oh, this dude we thought killed my dad, the king of our nation, actually did so to protect his honor, and he's been noble, and we really should have respected him this entire time. They don't have really the moment to fully get into that now, because there's a lot of things going on, but they do free Loki so that he can help fight for his homeland at this point. There is a moment where they apologize, that they're like, we are so sorry. We thought you were a bastard who killed your own father. And he's like, hey, I liked Dad. Like, I wasn't going to be that big of a shithead, basically. I wouldn't celebrate killing him or anything like that. But he's like, all right, fine. We won't forgive all your other stuff, but we can forgive this. And Loki is able to move again. We do have Sanji just starts kicking Gabon and Chopper back up the rope chain lift at this point, because I guess it's faster. But Luffy stays behind because he wants to see how Loki fights. And we end the chapter with Loki attacking the giant Draugr. Because, Nick, I don't know if you remember, there were a bunch of, like, nightmare illusions attacking.
Right.
I had to be reminded of some of these details as I was going through. He swings his big hammer. Nibelheim, boom, freezes it solid as he smashes it with his axe. So, looks like his hammer. It looks like his hammer can do some pretty crazy things.
Hell yeah. All right. And that's it. That's One Piece for
it.
this week. Yeah, that's all the manga for this week. Did you have a favorite chapter, Quinn?
Yeah, I think my favorite chapter this week is Ichi the Witch. That was the chapter that stood out to me the most, where I was like, oh, this is extremely cool. I love scenes where characters are like just hold the line for a certain amount of time. Those are always very dramatic and satisfying. I like how everyone's attacks kind of came together. I love that moment with Chrono all that ways away, still freeze him. Like, that's how powerful this magic is. It's very, very satisfying.
Yeah. I am going with Akane-banashi. Look, this is a chapter that is introducing the concept of, like, I've got to figure out what I believe that the god of death looks like, which was just like, yeah, I'm all about that. I could have spent an hour talking about that chapter just off of that concept alone. So very excited for that. Very excited to see what kind of images are conjured by the different versions of the story that we get to see. Cool.
Yeah, I hope next week or in the upcoming weeks we'll be able to expand upon our gods. We'll be able to hear a little bit more about like the loneliness that yours has been trying to struggle against, and we'll find out what kind of gun my clown has. Perhaps we'll detail those details. I'm thinking maybe like a really old musket, so like it has to like load between shots.
There's something about like, 30,000, people die every single day or something like that. It's like, man, that guy's got to reload that thing real fucking fast.
He says like 17 of them, and he loads them all at once.
They say that, there is an idea that like maybe different entities and stuff have different versions of the Grim Reaper, so maybe he's like the god of death of manga. So like whenever a series gets canceled in Shonen Jump, he shows up and goes BAM!
Honk honk kablammies!
Try again next time.
Like, well, you shouldn't say that before you shotgun their head into splatters, Mr. Honks. That's not fair.
Everyone, no one think about Order of the Flame again. It's dead now.
I've ended it. And you know what I did afterwards? I sat down on their stool, all full of its legs. My favorite MVP this week, I think, is going to be Shomei from Akane-banashi. I'm not sure if anyone else really stood out. Maybe Himari from Hima-Ten a little bit, but I think I'm still going to give it to Shomei just because I really liked the lessons he's providing, and I like the way that story's going.
Yeah. I'm tempted to give it to Kashin Koji for launching the absolutely insane plan of let's just mind control this guy and make him jump off a building because he's inconveniencing us. So extreme.
Surely there'll be no more questions after that. He's looked into the future, Nick.
Also, Natsuki for just telling Gakuro how relationships work is so funny to me. But my actual legitimate answer is going to be Loki for finally getting to do cool stuff. And honestly, getting, in an indirect sense, insanely put over by the discussion from Imu of like, this fucking really powerful king that we had an immortal body. And it's like, oh yeah, and Loki killed the hell out of that king. Jesus. Plus, we get, all this stuff with him finally having people who believe that he's not just a dad killer and everything. And, I really liked the interaction that he had with Luffy, where Luffy's like, I'm going to ride on your shoulder so I can see you fight. He's just really interested in all that stuff. So a big Loki's on the side of the Angels chapter.
Yes.
That's why I'm picking him.
All right, that is going to do it then. The audience, by the way, picked Blue Box as chapter of the week, and somehow Donna Schlag won character of the week from Spy Family. Good for her.
Oh man, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Everybody, thank you all for joining us. For the foreseeable future, we will be recording Tuesday evenings here on twitch.tv/RoloT. With nothing going on Wednesday, so don't watch the stream then. We'll also be posting the recordings to weeklymangarecap.podbean.com for the audio version. You can also listen to it on the podcast feeds like Spotify and iTunes. Video version goes up on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. The video version occasionally has title cards by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out by just searching for Steve Man art. And we also have an opening sequence by Bree Cheddar and Milo Jack Stillitz. Thank you guys for that. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymangarecap for bonus content. And if you want to financially support the podcast, and we have a Discord server, which is linked wherever the podcast gets posted. You can check that out for discussions of the chapters that we cover regularly, discussions of the recommendation series that we'll be talking about, and all sorts of other fun things. And also, follow us on social media. We are Nick F. Time, RoloT, Weekly Manga Recap, and WMR Votes. WMR Votes is run by Ninja X3I, who does all sorts of very helpful things to help us keep track of stuff that we have covered, stuff that we may cover. There is a big-ass Google Doc that will also be found through the Discord link and everything. It keeps track of all the votes that go into the audience vote for favorite series and MVP, and also tracks stuff like questions and answers that we may get to on a future episode, and recommendations. If you want us to cover a series, that's the place to leave a recommendation, in addition to the WMR recommendation section on the Discord server. But for the next time that we will be covering, I figure it's time that we get back to basics a little bit, Quinn. It's time to duel. We will be covering Yu-Gi-Oh! R!
I don't know, which one's that?
It is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that features the original series, but it's kind of like a manga-only sequel thing.
Okay. Interesting. All right, I'm excited. Check it out next time. Bye. Or not next time. Who knows what we'll cover it. Very soon, though. Bye.